And meeting is streaming there.
All right, thank you. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Chris Grazer. I'm the liquor license hearing officer for the city of Santa Fe. We're here on our August 16th agenda. This is the point at which I tell everyone to shut off their phones, but we're still not here in person. So just a little bit of how these hearings work. We have a couple on the agenda today. I'll call the item. I'll defer to the clerk who will introduce it, tell us what we're hearing. I will then give the applicant an opportunity to speak, add anything they wish to the information. I have read all the applications for the ones that have public comment. I've read all the public comment, every single one of those letters I've read. And I would ask, try not to repeat things that are in the letters because I have read those and I do want to be respectful of staff's time here. So after the applicant makes their statements, then anyone from the public is welcome to make statements. I did tell Mr. Richardson, who is representing a lot of neighborhood interests, that he could go first and he could have additional time as a neighborhood representative. After that, the applicant will then have the ability to respond or follow up in any way. I will then close the hearing. I will issue a written proposed findings and conclusions that will go to the governing body prior to the governing body meeting, which I believe is on the 25th. Is that the case? Okay, on the 25th. And that's kind of how we'll work it tonight. So let's start with public hearing 2A, request from Santa Fe Playhouse.
Okay, perfect. Oh, thank you. This is a request from Santa Fe Playhouse for a waiver of the 300-foot location restriction to allow the dispensing consumption of alcohol at the Santa Fe Playhouse, which is located at 142 East of Vargas Street. It is within 300 feet of the San Miguel Mission Church, located at 401 Old Santa Fe Trail. This request for the Santa Fe melodrama events to be held on the following dates from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So those dates are Thursday, August 26th, Friday, August 27th, Saturday, August 28th, Thursday, September 9th, Friday, September 10th, Saturday, September 11th, Thursday, September 16th, Friday, September 17th, and Saturday, September 18th. Oh, Mr. Grazer, I think you're on mute.
I get once free every meeting. Is the applicant here?
I am present. I'm Robin Raccoon, the artistic director. Hi.
Thank you, Ms. Raccoon. Could I have the clerk swear you in, please?
Mr. Grazer, just one note, maybe before I do the swearing in, is usually for governing body, we, if it's not your item, we have everybody turn their camera off so that the applicant or the person speaking or presenting is the primary on the screen. I don't know if that's something we want to follow now, but that might make it easier. We have a number of individuals on this meeting, and that's usually something we do just in general.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Thank you for the reminder. So if everyone could shut their cameras off until they're ready to speak, that would be a lot less clutter for us to look at. Thank you very much. I see everyone doing that.
Thank you. It's also easy for the swearing in as I have to see visually the individual I'm swearing in. So if you can just state your name and your full address.
Robin Raccoon, 142 East of Vargas Street.
Okay, and do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this item shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Raccoon. I've read the application. I don't have any questions. This would be your opportunity to add anything additional to the application if you wish.
Thank you. No, I think that you have all the information in the application. Did you also get the supplemental email that I sent from David Blackman?
I did, yes.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, and just that this is a really great opportunity to help theater in Santa Fe grow, and yeah, essential to our, financial growth as well as audience growth.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public here to speak to this application or have any questions about it?
If there are any individuals that would like to speak to this request for the Santa Fe Playhouse waiver, you can raise your hand, raise your virtual hand, and I can see you and then call on you. I think we have many individuals probably for the next case, but I will scan through. So if anybody is interested in speaking to this item, if they could please raise their virtual hand. Mr. Grazier, I'm not seeing any at this time.
Okay. Well,
I
thank
will
you.
just note, sorry, Mr. Grazier, really
Please go
fast.
ahead.
I did receive a question. You raise your hand by clicking on reactions, and then you'll see the option to raise your hand. In case there's anybody who maybe was not aware of that.
All right.
Okay.
All right, thank you. I think then that will do it for item 2A. Ms. Raccoon, thank you for coming. You're not obligated to spend the rest of the hearing here tonight.
Thank you so much.
All right, so that will then take us to number 2B. So what I'd like to do is, while the applicant is having their opportunity to speak, anyone who's going to want to speak to this, please raise your virtual hand. At that point, I can figure out how many people want to speak and figure out what an appropriate limitation on time is to make sure everyone can speak. All right, so Madam Clerk, please go ahead.
Yes. Item 2B is request from Santa Fe Wine and Spirits for a transfer of location only of dispensary liquor license number 0156 from 1005 South St. Francis Drive, Suite 101, Santa Fe, to Susan's Fine Wine and Spirits at 632 Agua Fria, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Who do we have here for the applicant?
Good afternoon, Hearing Officer Grazier. I'm Jennifer Jenkins with Jenkins Gavin. I'm here this afternoon on behalf of Susan's Fine Wine and Spirits.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Madam Clerk, could you please swear in Ms. Jenkins?
Yes, I will. If you could please state your full name and address.
Jennifer Jenkins, 130 Grant Avenue, Suite 101, 87501.
Perfect. And do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this case shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Gavin.
Thank you. And I also am joined by the owners of Susan's Fine Wine and Spirits, Nirmala Ganapathy and Frank Bolin, who are going to have a few words after I have a brief presentation, just go over a few details, and then I will have Nirmala and Frank will speak briefly. So if I may, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
I think we need to get you sworn in.
She just swore me in.
I'm sorry, I got distracted in the send line.
It's okay. Oh, the screen sharing is disabled.
We'll need to activate screen sharing.
Great, thank you. There we go. All righty, I'm assuming everybody can see my screen. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce this little bar down so it's out of my field of vision here. Okay, so as I said, I'm here on behalf of Susan's Fine Wine and Spirits, who is a longtime local business that was located at the corner of St. Francis Drive and Cerritos Road in the shopping center there for 16 years. Susan's is a local woman-owned independent small business. And a few details that are important about this particular enterprise. Susan's, after being in business 16 years, has had 0 sales violations, whether it was selling to a minor, selling to an impaired individual. There are no history of any nefarious activity at the store, break-ins, robberies, anything of that nature at all. They are a employer in this community who start out their wages at $15 per hour for new employees. They have a dedicated staff, most of which on average, they've been there almost 6 years, which is a really long tenure in the retail environment. Susan's is a boutique enterprise. They curate their products that are focused on discriminating consumers. They do not advertise and focus their advertising on youth or an indigent population, and it is designed for adults and discriminating customers. And of course, Susan's is a good corporate citizen in Santa Fe and annually donates up to $10,000 to our local charities. So Hearing Officer Grazer, you saw dozens of letters of support for this application, and some of the high points that were shared, whoops, pardon me, didn't mean to do that, is again, this is an upscale curated selection of fine wine, spirits, and craft beer. They support our local distilleries, our local craft breweries, our local purveyors. And so that's really been a big part of their mission from the beginning is to support the local economy in the craft spirit realm. As I mentioned previously, they have professional, stable employees who are dedicated to this enterprise. Upscale, friendly customer base, an open, clean, welcoming environment. Never do you find the store to be overcrowded or the parking lot to be overcrowded. In addition to supporting local charities, Susan's offers discounts to first responders and the military. And they, their practices, their business practices are fair-minded in terms of really unique, hard to find products without price gouging. And again, that really critical support to our local industry here. So this is the subject parcel. It is located at 632 Agua Fria. The property is zoned Business Capital District, which is essentially most of the core of the downtown is zoned BCD. It is a commercial and mixed use zoning category. And so the proposed establishment is a permissible use within the BCD. So the stretch of Agua Fria, so basically here to the right of the page, you see Guadalupe Street. Again, this is a dynamic mixed use neighborhood that has a lot of commercial activity. You can see the proposed Susan's location here on the left. And we have a combination of galleries, there's a spa, there's offices, architecture firms, law firms, there's a New Mexico Health Insurance Alliance, there is Joseph's Restaurant. So there, like I said, and a lot of vacation rentals also in this neighborhood. So this is a diverse mixed use neighborhood with a combination of commercial as well as residential uses. So this is zooming in on the property. So Agua Fria Street is on the right of the page. So we've kind of rotated the image. And then you have Romero Street here at the bottom of the page here. And we have our access drive directly from Agua Fria. And then we have a very generous parking area in the back. Under the city code, we would be required to provide a total of 11 parking spaces. We're actually doubling that. We're actually providing 21 parking spaces. So there is plenty of parking on the site. And in response to the concerns that we have been hearing from those in the neighborhood, the access to Romero Street is going to be gated, and that will be for emergency vehicles. So this is a very important point. The access to the store is going to be via Agua Fria. It is, so just wanted to point that out. We will not be having customers accessing the store via Romero Street. So what about concerns about traffic? So as I mentioned, the access will be from Agua Fria, and Romero Street will be gated. And if necessary, that would be accessible for an emergency vehicle. And comparing this location to their previous location was highly visible on a hard corner of one of the busiest intersections in the city. This new location has, by comparison, has much lower visibility to pass-by traffic. Pardon me, one moment. So there is an expectation based upon Susan's has a lot of repeat customers. They have a very dedicated customer base, and the owners know their customers really well. So they kind of know their repeat, their kind of core customer base. And then due to that location, there was the pass-by traffic, somebody who's just on their way somewhere. It's like, oh, there's a liquor store, I'll pull over and stop, right? So there's an element of that customer base, and that's going to shift and change. And they are actually anticipating a decrease in customers from 30 to 55%. And so with that, we're looking at an average customer visitations per day, which I think is probably somewhat aggressive, but I'm looking maybe around 63 customers per day. So we actually looked at what the traffic patterns are on Agua Fria, and per the Santa Fe Metropolitan Planning Organization, who has a repository of traffic counts that are conducted annually, the average daily traffic on Agua Fria, I'm using 2019 numbers because obviously traffic fell and reduced pretty significantly in 2020 due to the COVID pandemic. So looking at more normalized traffic patterns, in 2019, there were a little over 6,200 vehicles that traveled Agua Fria in a 24-hour period. And based upon the Susan's customer base, that would generate 1% of the traffic generation on Agua Fria. Oh my God, oh my God, oh shit. Okay. Oh, fuck.
It appears you're having issues on your end. We can still see you and hear you.
Mr. Grazier, it appears there's some type of emergency taking place, so we'll go ahead and hold the presentation at this time momentarily. I also hello, are you?
I'm here. Can you guys, my apologies. It's somebody at my office kicked me out of the Zoom. So
we can still
guys,
we can still hear you and see you.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. So so as I mentioned, with the potential traffic generation from Susan's is a drop in the proverbial bucket, and it is relative to the overall traffic on Agua Fria. And an important point, this is a walkable downtown location, which is going to have the effect of actually reducing the number of automobile trips for Susan's customers. So there are residents and visitors in the neighborhood who will have walkable access to the store. And as I mentioned before, there is more than adequate on-site parking. So this image shows our access to Agua Fria. This driveway here it's at the entry is 20 feet wide. It's very generous, very easy and navigable as you're turning from Agua Fria. And we are proposing a few improvements because there are some opportunities to make the driveway a little bit wider. It works fine now, but as you can see, there's a small little retaining wall here on the west side, and so there's an opportunity to remove some of the dirt here and to retain this condition to provide a little more of a generous driveway to access the parking area in the rear. So with that being said, that concludes our presentation, but I would like to invite Ms. Ganapathy and Mr. Boland if they have to make a few closing comments.
Please go ahead.
Go ahead, Frank.
All right, just getting set up here. Jennifer, thank you very much for representing us. I think you've done a fine job of presenting the facts. I'll try not to duplicate them at all. The one thing I want to address is that a lot of those who are opposed to our store at this location believe that we're going to draw an undesirable element to the neighborhood. We believe the actual opposite is true. We're not a liquor store like All or Cliff's or Kelly's, but in fact, the product selection that we have appeals to adults and discriminating customers. We never, in our 16-year history, never have targeted younger or indigent customers, and in fact have really sought to discourage that kind of a customer base. As you said, we've never had a sales violation, and in addition, we've never had a break-in, we've never had a robbery. And that's all in spite of the fact that our previous location next to McDonald's in the same center as Tiny's Restaurant. Now our proposed location is far more upscale and less susceptible to that kind of difficulty. So I think the concerns over litter and shall I say an undesirable element are without basis. And in fact, our typical customer is very much like our neighbors in the proposed location. So we'll positively contribute and expect to positively contribute to the neighborhood. Normally has a couple of additional items to mention. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Frank. I'd like to add that we have always worked very hard to do right by, first of all, by our staff and our customers and our community. This transfer, the liquor license transfer process has been long, has been difficult, and has been very stressful for us. The silver lining in this whole process has been the outpouring of support that we have received from our staff, from our customers, from our distributors, from all the local businesses that have written to us to say how much they miss us and how much they're looking forward to seeing us back in business. This support is very heartwarming, but I believe it is also proof to the fact that we have been successful in having a very, very positive impact on the community that we live in. We humbly request that you would allow us to continue to stay in business so we can continue to be a shining example of what a business different in this city different can look like. Thank you.
So Hearing Officer Grazier, that completes our presentation, and we may come back with additional commentary prior to the close of the public hearing, but I will let you know at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will give you that opportunity, certainly.
Thank
so
you.
Let's go, well, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. Let's go to Mr. Richardson for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hearing Officer. What we've heard here today is the first time we've heard of a new plan by Susan's for how they were going to access this property.
Mr. Grazier, sorry, I apologize. I actually need to swear in
Oh, yes. Okay.
the individuals, so give me one moment. If you could just state your full name and the address at which you reside.
Yes, my name is Jerry Richardson, and I live at 703 Don Felix Street, which is in the Guadalupe Historic Neighborhood.
Perfect. And do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this item shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Hood.
Okay. As I was saying, this is the first time we've heard of this new plan to provide access from the driveway on the west side of the building. Their initial proposal and what they told their customers on their website was that they were going to have access only from Romero Street, and that's what generated so much opposition to this from the neighborhood. And frankly, I would ask that the hearing officer treat this new plan as an admission that any access from Romero Street will cause substantial health and safety issues for the residents of the neighborhood surrounding this business. And I also would point out that even though they're saying that this, this provides all the access needed, and the driveway may be 20 feet wide at Agua Fria Street, but they have a gate there that is only 15 feet wide, and it is obvious that it's only going to be one way in or one way out. And if there's traffic going out of the driveway, it will cause anybody that wants to turn into the driveway to have to stop on Agua Fria, causing congestion and possible accidents, because I often see when delivery trucks and other such things are parked on Agua Fria, people try to go around them and don't always really observe whether there's oncoming traffic. And Agua Fria is only 2 lanes and not wide enough for cars to safely pass other vehicles waiting to turn into the driveway. So I don't think it's a very safe proposal that's being proposed here. They should have one way in and a separate way out so that you don't impede the traffic on Agua Fria Street. And I would also note that there's no evidence presented that the city traffic people would find this an acceptable solution. And so I think that the applicant has failed to meet their burden of proving that this is a safe alternative. And let's see. And when we had a neighborhood meeting at the Susan's location back in May, and we were told then that the applicant also plans on having wine tastings at their business, and that would certainly increase the traffic to and from the business, and certainly during a limited period of time. Let's see. And I also question seriously their assertion that their business will be down by 30 to 55%. I mean, it doesn't make sense for them to go to a location where they're going to lose half of their pre-existing business. And I have not heard anything as to how they can make that. It's a projection. It's nothing more than that. Their business might be less, their business might be more. We don't know, but we have evidence that they have substantially more business than they submit that they do. In the applicant's application, they said that they get 40 to 60 customers a day. And we have submitted in a statement from Whitney Johnson, who parked in front of Susan's for 3 hours from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. on, I believe it was May 21st when they were at their old location. And they had 80 people that parked in front and got out and went into the store. And so they obviously do more business than they're really admitting here. And their whole assertion that their business won't be substantial and won't impede traffic on Agua Fria Street is highly questionable. And I also want to make the point that if this transfer is somehow approved, that it must be conditioned on a permanently locked gate on Romero Street. Those were our primary objections, and that would remain. And I get concerned that somewhere down the line they'll decide that this isn't really workable and it will get opened up. So that really needs to be a condition on any approval if it should be granted. Let's see. And I also want to make the point that the neighborhood association has not objected to Susan's on the basis of it being a liquor store. I mean, I don't question their assertion that they've never had a violation of liquor laws. We're not saying they're a bad business. We're concerned about the impact on the neighborhood from increased traffic and dangerous condition that their current proposal will create on Agua Fria Street, which already has heavy traffic. So those are the concerns I have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. I appreciate it. Okay, so it looks like we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about a dozen hands up. So let's give everyone 2 minutes to talk, and I'll ask the clerk to call folks and swear them in whatever order works for you.
Perfect. I will ask, as I'm calling on everybody, if you can please make sure that your name, so a few things. One, as a reminder, keep your video off until you are called on to speak. 2 is that please make sure that the name, your full name is on your display, so where your name display is. I do need your full name. For example, there's someone that's my Mac. If you could please rename that to your true name. First and last name is very helpful during this process. And then I will give you 2 minutes. At the end of your 2 minutes, you'll hear a quick timer. I will say time and then I will mute you. So that's pretty basic. And your time will start after I swear you in. So as we go through this, again, I do need your first and last name, if possible, and then I can call on you. With that being said, Donna Goman, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to unmute. And if you can turn on your video, there you are. Perfect. I will swear you in. So if you can please state your full name and the address at which you reside.
Yes, my name's Donna Gomian, and I live at 759 West Manhattan Avenue in apartment 3. And that is in the historic neighborhood around where Susan's is about to try to relocate.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this case shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
Okay, perfect. I will start your 2 minutes now, okay?
Yes, I don't need 2 minutes. I think that my concerns have been addressed. It also, if we'd known in advance that they were taking the neighborhood's concerns into consideration to relocate the driveway access from Romero to Agua Fria, I wouldn't be at this meeting because I would be a happy girl. So that's the end of my intervention here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so Donna, everyone just gives me a second. There's a lot of side stuff. Ron Muir. Ron, if you want to go ahead and start your camera and ask you to share your, there you go. And I will ask you to please state your full name and the address at which you reside.
Yes, my name is Ronald Muir, and my business address is 2880 Trades West Road in Santa Fe.
Perfect, thank you. And do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this case shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
Yes,
Perfect, thank you.
I am on this video conference to support the reopening of Susan's Fine Wines in Santa Fe at the Agua Fria location that's proposed. I've been doing business with Susan's Fine Wines as a wholesale distributor of fine wines in Santa Fe for the past 3 years. They've been an excellent customer, always pay on time. What I've seen in the store is that it's never overcrowded. I've never seen many more than perhaps 10 people in the store at the same time. Staff is friendly. The management is trustworthy, and they always come through with everything that they've promised in doing business with them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next individual we have is Whitney Johnson. Whitney, if you would like to, oh, there we go. You're on mute. Whitney Johnson, you're on mute.
There.
Okay.
My full name is Donald Whitney Johnson.
Okay. And if you could please state your full name and the address at which you reside.
My name is Donald Whitney Johnson. I reside at 433 Tulane Place, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and part-time at 126 Romero in Santa Fe.
Okay, thank you. And do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this case shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. The reason for the commercial zoning for this property is that their frontage and access is on Agua Fria Street. They have two 20-foot existing driveways with original curb cuts from Agua Fria. The owner has filled one driveway with landscape rock and is currently using that driveway as a non-traffic area. I'm the person that went to their parking lot and watched one Friday afternoon. From 3 to 6, there were 80 different autos arriving and leaving. If more than one person was in the group, I counted them as one. They all came by car, they all left. So that was 80 cars in 3 hours on a regular Friday afternoon. This is a financial business decision, and the property owners and the liquor store owners are wanting to try to put the burden of traffic safety and reduce quality of life on our historic neighborhood. The thing they've proposed today has almost no chance of working if they have a two-way traffic on a one-lane road coming from Agua Fria to the back. But whatever they want to do is fine with me. I have no objection to them as a liquor store, but I would request that if approved, it be required that they lock the back gate, that they do not use it, and that they do not advertise it. Originally, they were advertising on their website that address as access to the property. I'm pretty sure they want to come back and do that sometime in the future. So, and really the excessive traffic on a little street, almost a quarter mile, maybe even more, where people are constantly walking, pushing their baby carriages, walking pets, that's the real issue, is this increased amount of traffic on an area that really doesn't even have sidewalks in places. And that's my primary issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next up, I have Martina Sidibaca. There we go. Hi, Martina, and you started your video. All right, I'm going to go ahead and swear you in. So if you can please state say I with your first full name and then the residence at which you reside.
Martina C. DeBaca. I live at 108 and a half Romero Street.
Okay, and do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this case shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
All right, I'll go ahead and start your 2 minutes.
I live at the beginning portion of Romero Street, and I'm glad that the landowners have addressed my main concern, which is the access entrance from Romero Street. I would still like it in the lease. I would still like it some sort of guarantee that Romero Street would never be an entrance into the business if it's approved. That's always been my main concern, is that would be an entrance. And so that was my main thing. I just heard somebody say that there's 10 people at one time. That's 10 spaces. I'm looking out right now from my house of the parking lot. There is no other place really for somebody to park, as far as if there wasn't, as far as in that place, there's no other place really to park other than either coming through Romero Street, parking at the Monaco Ball Center, or I don't know where else they would park if there's excess. My perspective is as far as I'm still going with the mindset that there would be some sort of opening on Romero Street, because that's what we were told. And so my main concern was that, yes, it would bring, although they do say that they serve high-end liquor, my still main concern also is the population that it may bring into the neighborhood. And so if you look at you see homeless, you see them at DeVargas Park, you see them at Walgreens, you see them at, I understand that they say they're a different type of liquor store. You see it at Allsup's on Guadalupe. You see it at these locations that I can't see that they wouldn't eventually come to this area of Santa Fe. And so I worry about those lingering in the area. And so, but my primary concern is as far as the Romero Street entrance has been addressed, but I would like some sort of guarantee that it never be used as an entrance. And that's it.
City Baca, that's your time. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sita.
All right, the next individual, Melissa. Yes. Yes, it is. So, yes. Also, are you running 2 devices simultaneously?
No.
Okay.
There's a computer just a few feet from me, though.
It's causing an echo. You might want to turn the audio off on that.
Can you turn your audio off? Okay. Just for a minute. Yeah, that's
just
fine.
mute it. And it should work if you, perfect. If you can say I and state your full name and then the address at which you reside.
Yes. My full name is Mel. Please turn your audio off.
I don't know how to do that. I turned it off here.
We're still figuring it out. Sorry. Well, then just. Is that better? No, it's still echoing.
I think the other computer needs to be muted.
The other computer needs to be muted, yes.
Okay, did you get that figured out?
Well, it says mute.
You're muted. You have to mute the whole computer, not just.
Yeah, the whole computer has to be muted. The volume actually has to be muted.
Turn your volume all the way off. Will that work? I'm sorry, we're wasting time here.
Madam Clerk, they need to mute their mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. They're working on it.
Okay. Just like the volume alone won't do that. Lowering the volume.
Oh, mute the mic. Can you mute your mic? Well, let's turn it off for a minute then, would you?
His mic is muted, Joe.
Oh.
No one else has their microphone on, but it's also the volume. It's the feedback loop that's
okay.
There.
That better? Sounds more. No. Just, can you get out of Zoom for a minute and then go back?
Perhaps we could go to the next speaker and come back to this lady.
Okay, sure, that's fine, whatever.
Okay, we'll give you 1 second and we'll come back to you. Luke Otero.
Thank you. Can you hear me, see me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
And there's no echo, so we're good.
So we are good. If you could say I and your full name and then state the address at which you reside.
I, Luke Otero, reside at 1458 Miraceros Loop North, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87505.
Okay, and do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this item shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll go ahead and start your 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hearing Officer, and all who are participating in this hearing. I'm here to support the application. Two things I'd like to really point out from a personal level. I've been shopping at Susan's for 16 years as a customer. And like everyone else has said, nothing but professionalism has ever been exhibited there, and it's what I like most about it. It's a local homegrown business. The second piece I'd like to add, and this is important, is Susan's is a customer of ours. We are the smallest boutique distributor in the state of New Mexico, where we bring in some of the finest wines from Napa, Sonoma, and some of the best bourbon from Kentucky that you can't get anywhere else. And Susan's was so kind, generous to give us that opportunity to show that, their store can support a small family-owned business like we have. And for this store not to be allowed will hurt us as well. And consequently, many, many others, customers, distributors as well. It sounds like the city has some solutions that they can potentially work on with the neighborhood association, and I'm hopeful and grateful for this opportunity to support Susan's Fine Wine and Spirits. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Otero.
I'm going to try Miss Melissa Benedict again. Melissa. All right. Were you able to? Oops.
Okay, I'm fine. We're fine.
Okay. Yes, perfect. So if you can go ahead and state your name. So I and your first name residing at with your address.
Okay, I, Melissa Benedict, reside at 819 West Manhattan here in Santa Fe.
Okay, thank you. And do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this item shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'll go ahead and start your 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. I live at 819 West Manhattan, and I have lived in this house for 42 years. I raised my family here, and I really want to emphasize for this hearing that many members of our local neighborhood are very conscious and concerned about safety and health issues related to traffic in particular. This is really much more our objection so far to Susan's Fine Wines is not the business itself or even that it's alcohol, but that it's a real problem for traffic in our neighborhood. We started a neighborhood watch group in 2011 and tried then, and other neighbors in 2020 tried again to get some traffic calming infrastructure placed in the community, and we've not been able to get anywhere with the city on doing that. I think it would help enormously. I'd like to point out that the reason West Manhattan is blocked at the end where the rail yard starts is because the neighborhood, when the rail yard was being developed, asked for that. It was, again, a traffic, health and safety issue. And so that's really where my concern with Susan's comes from too, is that we need to really believe and trust that traffic in and out, including delivery trucks and vans for Susan's, not be routed through Romero Street. If that traffic uses Romero, it then uses Manhattan, and then it probably uses Juanita. And in any case, it certainly uses our neighborhood where we try to walk our dogs and walk with our children. where my house is, and from my house onto west, onto St. Francis Drive, the street narrows and the sidewalk narrows accordingly. In some places, it's 12 inches deep. That's the sidewalk. And the old telephone poles that were there before the sidewalk went in are right in the middle of the sidewalk. So it's a street that many people walk on to go to the rail yard for various things. And everybody walks in the street because you can't really walk on the sidewalks. So that's really my input to this hearing, is that we have traffic concerns, and certainly these relate to the health and safety of the neighborhood. And I would like to see Susan's not use Romero Street in any way for their access.
That's your time. Thank you, Ms. Benedict.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. The next individual up is Janie Cravens. All right, there you go. Hello, Ms. Cravens. If you could please state I and your name and then residing at with your address.
I'm Janie Cravens. I reside at 134 Romero Street, Santa Fe.
Okay, perfect. And do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this item shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'll start your 2 minutes.
So I live directly across the street from the Arc bookstore and its traffic. It has a small parking lot, and on our street, Romero, would be the business that creates the most traffic. And I want to say, it's hard sometimes with people parking across my driveway just a little bit and the kinds of things that happen, but it's workable. It has been workable. And as I've mentioned to Frank and Normala, we're very good neighbors to the businesses that are here. And if they come here, they'll be blessed by having good neighbors too. And I am more hopeful today, of course, like everyone has said, hearing that they don't plan to use Romero. That's brand new information for us. And I have come to appreciate Susan's as a business. I was one of the people who at first was pretty concerned about a liquor store, period, but I have done my research and come to appreciate them, and the owners, by the way, who have shown a lot of openness and willingness to work with us. But I do want to say that so far in this meeting, it is unconscionable to campaign that they should be supported because their clientele is upscale. It's insulting to my intelligence, frankly. It's not like upscale people don't also overdrink and cause problems. That's ridiculous. And I know that we can't control the fact that a liquor store is going to come into the neighborhood, and I'm hopeful it's going to be okay too, but it's just absurd to think that because upscale people come there won't be some overdrinking involved and perhaps chaos for us in the neighborhood. The last thing I'll say is I have a lot of sympathy for the owners of Susan's and some anger on their behalf. I think they were also told things that were certainly not good for our neighborhood, and they're coping the best they can too. And I can only hope that if they are allowed to come in, like as everyone has said, that it be mandated by our city that the Romero Street entrance not be useful to them and that it be locked. No one has mentioned so far that we also do have several schools, a couple of churches, and at least one sheltered group home right here in the neighborhood, and a lot of older people, me too, included, that, to create a little heightened concern about health and safety. That's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Cravens.
All right. The next individual up, again, I'm going with full names. So Daniel Clevenger. Daniel, if you're on and you would like to speak.
Let me see here. Video.
All right, I'll send you a request to show video. Perfect, thank you. So if you can say I and state your name and then residing at and state the address at which you reside.
I, Daniel Clevenger, residing at 819 West Manhattan here in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Okay, do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this case shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll start your 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, and I do appreciate this opportunity. And I do appreciate the owner's statements earlier that they would like to do right by the community, that they would like to have the support of the community, and that they would like to create a positive impact on our community, on our neighborhood. And I respect that and hope that it is true, and I want it to be true. As people have indicated,